Affirmations for the Consciousness by Derrick Lee.
Inspired by Macht der Gedanken, Might of the Thoughts book by Eduard Albert Meier. An affirmation for the purpose of higher development of the personality is as necessary as the affirming of the life itself. Billy Eduard Albert Meier, like a tree trunk the material and the root, the spiritual. I am balanced between both the material part of myself and the spiritual part of myself. I always think independently despite anyone else's thoughts, opinions, or beliefs. I always account for my own thinking and actions. Through constant thinking, I train my consciousness so that my personality can further develop. My personality and my consciousness are identical factors. My consciousness is responsible for the form and use of my thoughts. My thoughts have might. All my might is anchored in my thoughts. I am the forger of my own fortune. I form my own luck by means of my thoughts and according to how I choose them. My consciousness is the origin of all might which forms my character and morality. My consciousness, determines the manner in which my thoughts are to be mightfully used. I am able to perceive the truth, create cognition and cognizance for myself, as well as knowledge, practical experience, and wisdom. Thoughts are might in the negative and the positive. Both positive and negative I bring together to form neutral-positive-equalized thinking whereby healthy and progressive thoughts arise. For I maintain and repair my psyche with a neutral-positive-equalized mode of thinking. The self-development of my personality is based in self-cognition and self-realization. My zeal-directed thoughts I mightfully use. Self-mightification arises in my practice. In conscious use of the might of my thoughts I show and prove to myself my own capabilities. Through the might of my thoughts, I have a means at my disposal with which I form my future and my life according to my own wishes and ideas. Knowing and understanding the effective truth makes me free from anxieties, restrictions, and burdens. I recognize that the might of my thinking is the key to my personal power in all things. I am conscious of my thoughts, and I no longer do things that I do not want to do. Knowledge and cognition grow in me, and I do what I enjoy and love. In my thoughts and actions, I create a better life and a better world for myself, as well as all human beings, other life forms, and all of nature. Through the might of my thoughts are brought to fruition. That which I mightfully think manifests for me. My character, morality, and personality are the complete sum of the might of my thoughts. Thoughts are might regardless of which kind they are. Thoughts are always paired with might and power, because only thereby is progress guaranteed. My thoughts are seeds, and only through the might are my thoughts brought to fruition. The might of the thoughts brings itself to fruition as the success of that which I think. All my acts and deeds, the forming of my morality, of my entire character, and of my personality, as well as my psyche, are flowers of my thoughts and their monstrous might. I am the smith of my life. Neutral, positive, equalized thinking allows room for negative inclusions. I do not think in an only purely positive or only purely negative form to achieve an effective equalization. I am a creation of creational intelligence, and thereby a creation which has evolved through the law of universal creation, of universal consciousness. The law of universal creation, universal consciousness, is the law of cause and effect, causality, as applies to all creational areas of law. Every thought enlivened by might and power must, as a cause, bring a quite certain effect. As a consequence of the cause-effect principle of the thoughts, my virtuous, noble, modest character and corresponding personality are not a matter of random chance, but are a matter of a self-determined, good, positive destiny and are a natural result of right neutral positive equalized thinking. My consciousness is the armory of the thoughts which mightfully come to fruition. I am a master of my own thoughts, and I possess might over them. I am the creator of my own morality, character, and entire personality. I am the creator of the state of my own psyche and the smith of my entire life circumstances, environment, and entire destiny. I hold the key in my hand to every conceivable situation. The key is the might of my thoughts. Even when I suffer affliction and misery, or when I feel weak, ill, or abandoned, through the might of my thoughts, I am always in every moment master of my own situation. By forming my thoughts in a neutral, positive, equalized way, I am raised by their might into unimagined heights, and I am rewarded with true love, harmony, joy of living, and success. I am always a master of my directly existing state. I am the conscious master of my thoughts and their might. I am the creator of my own morality, character, and entire personality. My thoughts are formed by energies and intelligence and are also provided, by the energies, with power and might. I always live within the laws of the thinking. Through self-analysis, I discover the laws and therefore gain self-cognition. I correctly use the creation of thoughts, as well as of the constantly growing practical experience and living of the thoughts and their effects. Only by my searching and digging can the truth and the laws of the thinking be found, gems of the truth which are of lasting value. Through the following and observation of these things, I produce doubtless evidence as I bring cause and effect into connection with each other through patient practice and investigation. I find use in all my gained practical experiences and the living of those experiences. Even my mundane experiences and the effective processing thereof are of decisive significance. My knowledge is might. Knowledge about my personality leads to the understanding of myself, which leads to wisdom whereby monstrous power and might arise. I am patient in my practice and my unremitting effort, because only thereby can the door to the real knowledge be found and opened, to make useful to me the truth which has been found. My consciousness is like a garden, and I only sow useful seeds and useful plants which are useful to me. I always nurture/sow good, healthy, and neutral, positive, equalized thoughts because they bring a good harvest in the form of progress, success, love, peace, and harmony. All wrong, useless, negative, and impure thoughts I eliminate in order to obtain the necessary space for the useful, pure, neutral, positive, equalized, and cultivated thoughts. Through the might of my thoughts, I am the master of my life, and I willingly recognize and accept this and operate accordingly. My character is the product of my own practical experiences, living experience, and the product of the actual realization and personal utilization of my own thoughts. My character is the visible, typical uniqueness of my personage. My character represents my inner attitude, which expresses itself with consistent responsibility conscious, ethical action, ethical normative character concept. Through my own observation and attentiveness, I discover and define my true character. I accept the external life circumstances of the environment as they are, even when they do not correspond with my own character. I am tolerant of the environment and of the external life circumstances because tolerance determines whether a situation is accepted or not. My tolerance in turn is a character trait and thereby a fundamental element of my thoughts. No matter where I am guided by my character, which embodies a part of my reason. A further part of my V-sin reveals itself in the thoughts, which in turn, elements flow, as impulses, into the thoughts. So, one produces the other, whereby a reciprocal action between my thoughts and my character comes about. Neither my thoughts, nor my character, nor the construction and leading of my entire life is based on an element of so-called chance. Rather, they are based on a thought, out cause and effect foreordination born of creational law.
Therefore, everything is a result of creational law, which can never fall prey to irrationality.
I live with myself and my surroundings in love, peace, joy, harmony, and equalizedness. The might of my thoughts determines the state of my psyche and, self-evidently, the mode in which my consciousness works. I nurture my thoughts in a neutral-positive-equalized form so that the effective results of them are neutral-positive-equalized. I am a human being that is a forward, directed and evolving V-Sin which is integrated into a logical and conscious evolution. Therefore, I am on earth to learn, to become knowing and wise, and to grow. By learning my lessons, which are contained in every single circumstance of life, I thereby make room for other and new life circumstances to arise which in turn have to be fathomed, which results in the occurrence of a new learning process. Circumstances constantly change and make room for other and new life circumstances from which in turn I must learn. I always recognize the truth that I myself is the master of my learning, as well as the master of the might of my thoughts and all the effects which arise from them. I always recognize that the environment and the circumstances of life do not form me, but rather I myself form them through the might of my own thoughts. Along with the actual universal creational power, I recognize that the human being, in myself, is an independent creational power which manifests in the form of the might of the thoughts and the resulting effects. Through my recognition, further cognitions, and the knowledge resulting from them quickly follow. My own creational power arises from the consciousness in the form of the might of the thoughts. Creational power also controls the thinking in a negative or neutral positive equalized form. As a result of this, I understand how to guide my thoughts in a right and healthy wise. I thereby become not only the actual master of my thoughts, rather I actually become the Lord and master of myself and my entire life. I always practice self-cognition and take up self-examination and let appropriate self-control grow. All circumstances of life only grow out of the thoughts which mightfully become real. By ordering my thoughts in a neutral positive equalized way and eliminating existing defects in my thoughts, I make very quick and clear progress which undoubtedly exhibits positive neutral values that I have thereby obtained. My psyche absorbs everything which is conveyed to it by my consciousness's thoughts. My consciousness's mental circumstances and the might of the thoughts are the means by which my psyche is influenced and steered. Every thought which is formed in my consciousness, or which enters it and establishes itself there, develops into tremendous might, which is able to control everything. I always follow my inner thoughts, hopes, desires, and wishes, thereby granting myself my own domination-free reign and thereby ultimately reaching their fulfillment, and indeed in the external conditions of life as well as in my inner. In my psyche, morality, character, and entire personality. This corresponds to the law of the growth of the progress and to the law of adaptation of all things to each other, two laws which have their validity everywhere. That which I think I make real, and that which I think about myself I become. Therefore, good and positive thoughts I always tend to and nurture. I always hold a good and positive opinion of myself. My opinion is as full of might as are my thoughts themselves, for which reason it is necessary that I have a realistic opinion of myself as well as of reality, because only such an opinion is good and positive.